Over to you.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I think I must confess that this is a very, very important subject for the mining industry, and to some extent the Chamber of Mines as well. Of course, the Chamber of Mines speaks on behalf of the mining industry. I would want to go back to what the Deputy Minister for Energy spoke about. Now, if you consider the extractive industry, the oil and gas and the mining industry, you are talking an industry which is a price taker. And therefore, in the general scheme of things, what you have to play around with is your cost. That is fundamental. We've heard examples about expatriates and their costs and so on and so forth, even importing inputs for these industries. Look, if you are able to procure them locally and of the right quality and of the right standards, right pricing, trust me, companies in the extractive will actually procure them. It is so, so critical. In fact, one of the sure ways of actually developing our country, our economy, is to look at the various opportunities around the extractives. Because if you look at the purchase, the quantum of expenses out of, especially the mining industry, and I know it holds sway for the oil and gas industry as well. So I would want to go to what Pauline said. We need deliberateness. That is the watchword at the Ghana Chamber of Mines. It is so important that you don't just talk local content and it's sitting somewhere. What does it mean? How do you implement it? Nobody cares. At the end of the day, you said, yes, you have in fact, the mining industry, the expectation is that companies will produce a procurement plan which they will submit to the Minerals Commission for approval. Tweak here, tweak there, I think you can buy more, and so on and so forth. And then at the end of the day, you have to report your level of compliance to the regulator. But in between, what happens? Nothing. Nothing. And you're asking the question, when you are talking local content, what does it mean? Is it really mining? Because we are talking fabrication, we are talking about manufacturing. It doesn't sit with Minerals Commission. It doesn't sit with our sector ministry. In fact, I dare say they don't even have the competence to do that when they are talking about trade policy and how it relates to mining and its inputs. So here what we need is collaboration. And I would always go back to this example of South Africa. A couple of years ago, I attended a seminar in South Africa. And they have a model. And the model is having a mining engineer, for example, sitting at the Ministry of Trade and Industry. Someone who really understands the nuances of the mining industry, doing the kind of mapping which Pauline is talking about. We don't have that there. And as a country, it's about time we have this deliberateness. One of the things we have done at the chamber, for example, is to say, let's identify, and sometimes we throw these examples out there. Activated carbon, caustic soda, we believe we have a competitive advantage to produce. These are the values which go into the mining industry. We believe that there are other, complementary uses within the sector. Caustic soda goes into detergent manufacturing, activated carbon going to oil and gas. We do all of these things. Go to Ghana's customs, get import data as a proxy for demand, throw that out there. In fact, as we speak, we have a portal on local content to say what are the strategic inputs which go into the mining industry. We advertised this seriously last year. Uptake next to nothing. But what are we doing ourselves as a country in terms of mapping? And sometimes we get so frustrated. We met, and I think I would have to divulge this information. We met with the economic management team a couple of months ago. And we said, for us, the mining industry is so critical because it provides opportunity. You want to grow manufacturing. You want to grow generic industry. The other day I heard that we are going into export diversification. I said, that's fine. But what about opportunities you are actually churning out there? You are giving it out to others. Opportunities for you to retain the value within the country. Take that first. Especially in areas where you have competitive advantage. But nobody cares. So what we have done, when we spoke with the economic management team, we said, look, we'll bend over backwards and help our country. Because we believe it makes business sense. You have to play with your cost. If you have local production, competitive, why not? At least you save on freight. So we said, University of Mines and Technology is a key ally of the mining industry. We are going to challenge you, and we do this from time to time when you have research, issues which we want, to have handle on, and we don't have the capacity to say, University of Mines and Technology, give us a mapping, what she's talking about. Give us a mapping of all the opportunities around the mining industry and how they speak to each of the other sectors of the economy. So we have a blueprint. This is what we believe we can do to help our country. And then once we have this blueprint, we then have to go out there to government and say, look, we believe we need that kind of support. These are the opportunities. It will go with the values and how that actually links. She talked about linkages. We have not harnessed these linkages optimally the way we should. And it's about time we had a different mindset about the extractives. Because if you are able to harness the resources and the opportunities around the extractives, especially mining, you'll be amazed how far we will go as a country. People talk about import substitution, but I've been informed that these days we talk about what? Import competition. The ability of the local company to compete with imports. Because if you consider our law, the Minerals and Mining Law, it talks, Section 105, it talks about the responsibility of a company to procure to the maximum extent possible, consistent with the economy, safety, and efficiency. So it just tells you, it is not just local content for local content's sake, because you don't want to destroy value. So it's important that we have this mindset about the extractives and say, let's harness as much as possible. Look, direct contributions from the extractives are beautiful, but as has been said, in terms of direct employment, it's not that much. Years ago, Anglo Ashanti Obuasi would hire about 10,000 people directly. It's not possible any longer because mining is so tech-driven now. Anglo Ashanti Obuasi, we heard that next year, around the third quarter, they are going to start production. We know that the game has changed. It is going to be so mechanized. And therefore, the direct jobs will be so limited. But the opportunities are within the value chain. And we need to address this, harness them, identify them. What are the gaps? One of the beautiful things we did about 8 years ago is a partnership between IFC, Minerals Commission, and the Chamber of Mines. We said, yes, we've been talking, even long before the LI 2173 came into being. We said, this is something we've been talking about all the time. I think we need to have a handle on this. So again, to the question of audits. So what did we do? We said we're going to do a kind of a gap analysis of all the supplies which come into the country based upon local production. It really, really opened our eyes and really helped us. Under the LI 2173, for example, Minerals Commission is mandated to issue what we call a procurement list. The first list, which was issued, had 8 items. Subsequently, they've added 11 more. We are told they're getting themselves ready to issue a lot more. But that seminal work really opened our eyes because it identified these inputs and the capacity of the respective companies within the country to produce them. So they were actually graded. Margin of about 2% with the highest content of Ghanaian ownership, employment, and management should have preferential treatment, more or less like a margin of preference. So, although it is not defined as local content, we have elements of that which points us into the right direction. So, I want to conclude by saying that the extractives, especially the mining industry, we believe that beyond the direct contributions that the mining industry and the oil and gas industry, makes to government. In fact, in the last 6 years or so, the mining industry has been the leading contributor in terms of fiscal collections by the GRA. When it comes to exports, merchandise exports, last year mining industry accounted for 43%, much, much more than the combined contribution of oil and gas and cocoa. But we believe we can do more. There's so much scope for us to deepen this. We are talking about unemployment. It is inherent. The opportunities are there. Again, I know for sure that some of the service providers are actually supplying to the mine, into West Africa, which is a good thing. In the last few years, we've had a thriving mining industry within West Africa. Of the 10 highest gold producing companies in Africa, 5 come from West Africa. It just tells you the opportunities we have. If we position ourselves well, the market is not just Ghana. The market is within West Africa. Of course, there may be occasions or situations where when you do the metrics, you do the mathematics, the numbers may not add up until you look at the wider sub-region. I would want to end by saying that if you don't take advantage of the opportunities around us, our neighbors will take advantage. And before long, we will actually be procuring goods and services from them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.